The opinions expressed on this program represent the viewpoints of individual authors or contributors and do not necessarily reflect those of Troy University. This is Alabama Politics with Steve Flowers, an in-depth interview with Alabama's top political newsmakers. Now, from the studios of Troy University, here is Steve Flowers.
I'm Steve Flowers, and welcome to Alabama Politics. Folks, we're very fortunate tonight to have as my guest one of my longtime friends in Alabama politics and one of the legendary state senators in the state and a longtime member of the Troy University Board of Trustees, the Honorable Gerald.
Steve, thanks for having me. It's great to see you again. You're looking well. Life's treating you well.
Well, I'm getting up in age, you know. That happens to us. From Lineville, Alabama. Now, Gerald, were you born and raised up in
Clay County. I was really raised in a little community called Delta. It's 10 miles up.
But in Clay County?
In Clay County. And when I married, I came back there and was teaching school. And I lived in Delta. I had a house up there. And my wife was teaching, and I was teaching at Lineville. It's 10 miles. And we were passing each other every day. I was coaching, and she was doing cheerleader. So she said, we need to move to town. I said, Faye, I'm a country boy. I don't mind living in town, but I'm not going to live next to each other. So we bought 12 acres out on the edge of town and moved to town, and we've been there forever, and that's where that's home.
I had forgotten you were a coach. That's why everybody knew you when you ran.
Yeah.
So where'd you and Faye go to college?
We went to West Alabama. I was at the University of Alabama, and I met Faye. She came up.
Y'all met at the University of Alabama?
I was at the university. She was at Livingston then.
Okay.
So I met her. And I was really attracted to her. She's a beautiful young lady.
Well, yeah.
And I got to thinking, if I don't move down to Livingston, she's going to run off one of them football players.
So you went down to Livingston to
date
her?
I went down my last year and gave up my mama said, why are you going to Livingston? I said, hey, Mama, that's a good school.
You tell the truth. You didn't tell them why you did.
I said, Mama, that's a real good school. So I went down there and wound up getting my degree there, and we both graduated there. And then I did my education degree after. I didn't have an education degree, and I did that at Jacksonville. And then I did postgraduate work at Auburn, so I've been involved.
But your first experience was coaching
and teaching at Lineville High School.
Lineville High School, your home county.
I taught I coached football. There was two of us. I only had two back then. Now they got about six down there. I had two of us. And then I was the head basketball coach.
So you coached football, but you head basketball.
Yes, sir.
Had you played basketball? How long?
I did. I was a bench setter. I sat a lot on the bench.
Played football, Eddie?
Yeah, played football. I weighed 110 pounds and tried, and Coach said I was cheaper than a blocking dummy, so he let us play. But I love sports. I think high school athletics is the only true athletics left in America, and we got to continue to promote it and make sure it doesn't become transfer portal and NIL like the colleges and the pros have, and it's, you know, kids play now because they love their school, they want to wear their jersey, they want to talk about the pride and prestige, and we've been fortunate in Clay County. We got a Coach Horn up there who's is the GOAT. He's got the most wins of any coach in Alabama, and he's got more championship rings than Coach Saban. He's got 8 state championships. So
what's his name?
Danny Horn.
Now what number division is Lineville?
When we combined the schools, we became 5A, and now we're going to be in this new classification 4A.
Do you go to all the games of STL?
Yes, sir. I belong to the volunteer quarterback club and the 12th man club, and I just love athletics, and I just love to watch kids participate. They're going to make mistakes, they're going to mess up, but they put their heart and soul into it. And in a rural county like Clay or Cleveland or Randolph or even Chambers or down at Smith Station, it's a social event of that community. It's where everybody comes together. It's where everybody's got one common interest. It's the common thing that binds small rural counties together, and it keeps them that way. Ramburn, Alabama, Woodland, Alabama, and Wadley got in the state finals this year, and so.
Well, Gerald, when you coached, how many years was it before you ran for your first office? You ran for the House first.
I ran for the House.
Not mayor of a town or anything. No. You went straight to the
legislature. I left coaching to go into business because I realized teaching and coaching just didn't make any money, and I had 2 kids I had to send to college, and so I went into business with a guy, and we did quite well in the building supply business.
Building supply there in Clay County.
Yeah, we had 2 businesses. He ran one in Weedow, and I ran one in Lineville.
Was somebody you known real well?
Yeah, he and I bought out a business.
About the same age? Y'all about the same age, grew up together?
And the ironic part of it, and I'll tell you this story, but I ran the business, and I ran for city council.
Wedowee or
in
what?
Limeville.
Okay, he was in Wedowee.
Yeah, and the Limeville mayor.
Wedowee's not in Clay County. It's
No, it's in
Randolph,
Randolph, right across. So I ran for the city council and was elected, and I served 2 years. And we had a legislator who never would come home. He lived down here, lived in the Whitley Hotel.
Not Pete Matthews.
Pete Matthews.
Was you ran Pete?
I beat Pete Matthews.
You beat Pete. What year was that?
That was in '74, and Pete beat.
He didn't ever came home. You're right.
I didn't beat Pete. He beat himself. He
did.
forgot the people. He forgot that old syndrome that, you know. And I always had this, Steve. When I was in the Senate, I had a picture on my wall of a turtle on a fence post. And I looked at that every day, and you know the significance of that? That turtle didn't get there by himself. Somebody had to help him.
That's
and
right.
I knew every day when I went in that office in the Senate, I didn't get there by myself. People had to help me, and I owed it to those people who helped me. And I want to carry that. I want to carry that picture back and hang it on the wall in the new
You will. Let me say this. Go back to what year was that when you beat old Pete Matthews? What year?
74.
I think I may have known that, but I did not know that. And you weren't very old when you did that.
No, I was about 24.
You were 24 when you went to the
24,
house?
25.
Good Lord. And then did you think you were going to beat him when you ran against him?
Yeah, I did, and I'll tell you why. I was sitting at a barber shop one Saturday with a bunch of people, politicking.
You were already running.
Yeah, I was already running, and I was sitting in there
Did
talking.
Pete even come home to campaign?
And Pete came up the other side of the street, and somebody said, "Oh, damn, there's Pete Mathis. It must be election day."
And
Because he
you
came
knew
home
that.
every 4 years. He beat himself. We spent $1,500 in that campaign. It's all the money I spent.
And he had all the money in the world,
Yeah,
probably.
and I went to every place I could see. I shook every hand, and we beat him about 1,000 votes.
Was that House district just Clay, or you another county too?
It was Clay and Cleburne and part of Talladega.
You've always had a multi-county area because that area is sparsely populated.
It is. This district now is Clay, Cleburne, Randolph, all the chambers, and a large it's the eastern section of Lee County, maybe 431, includes Smith Station.
Coming all the way down for Yo County, Clay, Cleburne, Randolph,
Chambers,
and then that's a lot of people.
Yeah, and it runs up the Georgia line, you know, and a lot of people you run into say, "I vote in Georgia." I said, "Well, we'll get you an absentee ballot."
How many people in the Senate district now?
About 120,000.
When you first started, how many were there?
I think in the first,
75, 80?
about 85,000.
That's
It's
what I'm
almost double what they were in the population, because our population over that period is gone almost doubled since
That's
74.
right. So you went to the House in '74. Did you serve 1 or 2 terms?
Two terms, and I went to the Senate in '83.
83, yeah, that special election.
I ran in
Well,
80.
you and I might have served 1 year in the House together. Because
In
I
80
came in '82
we
from
served-
Pike County, and
we
then
served from
one
80
term together in 1 year.
And then in '83, I had to run as an independent. And
because they threw all the conservatives off the ballot.
Yeah, and I was a
hope them
conservative.
did, yeah.
I was.
All of us pro-business people, they were trying to come out with the ones that
They
were
threw me
doing.
off the ballot, and I was one of the few that won. Me and Punk Covington.
Well,
if you
Lowell
remember.
Barron did too.
Lowell Barron ran as a righty.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the three of us, and we beat the establishment then. And
Let's go back, if you don't mind talking about that. So you were served 74. Did you have an opponent in the House in 78 or run for unopposed?
no, I had an opponent.
In 78.
Yeah.
Then you actually won again in 82 for the House.
No, I lost in '82.
Okay, and then we came back in 83 special election.
Yeah.
Now, is the district you're running from now pretty similar to your Senate district?
Almost identical, except
Ain't changed much.
No, it hadn't changed much. I used to have Cherokee County, and they took Cherokee and put it in another district, and I picked up more of Lee County.
So you came to the Senate in '83 and left 4 years ago?
2006.
Oh, you've been gone
The
for 7 terms.
Democrats won that seat in 2006.
No, a Democrat won that seat.
Yeah, Kim Benefield. And then I turned around.
Where was that? Where was Kim Benefield from?
She'd been the retired circuit clerk in Randolph County
You mean a Democrat won that
in
seat?
2006.
Well, that's kind of unusual, wasn't it?
It was. And then I came back and won it in 2010. And let me tell you the significance of me winning that seat in 2010. It flipped it from Democrat to Republican. It was the deciding election that gave the Senate the Republicans
In
a
2010.
supermajority.
That seat did it.
And that seat did it. And let me tell you the other significance that people don't realize, but when I got back in, the first thing I did, I asked to chair redistricting, reapportionment, because I understood how important that was. And so by chairing that, we had 2010 census. 20 census was going to draw new districts for 2014.
Right.
I drew those districts, and I drew them so that make sure that the Republicans maintained a supermajority in the Senate. I changed several districts that even determined people might not run, or that they would ensure that they be Republican. And since then, we've had the supermajority. But it was 2010 was the first time the Republicans have had a supermajority since Reconstruction.
I knew that.
And so that was a significant change in the dynamics. And they spent $1 million in 2010 to beat me, and we still won.
Democrats did?
Yeah, $1 million.
Who'd run against you?
An attorney up there named Greg Varner.
I never heard of him.
No, but he and you know, it was a tough race. We didn't win by a lot. I think we spent $200,000, and they spent almost $1 million in that race. They did everything you could think of. They painted me every color you could think of. But the people knew me, and they knew, you know, that didn't wash very well with them because they knew who I was.
So you came to the Senate in '83, and then you had to serve. You had still running as a Democrat though, wasn't you?
Yes, that's all they were
right.
back then. Yeah.
But now Jabbo was always able to run as a Republican. He got beat because he didn't change parties.
Yeah.
In that same year.
Same happened to me.
The same year. So y'all all stayed too
I
long.
in 206, Bob Riley's running.
Right.
He's on the ticket, and he's
From up there, that's right. He's from your
county.
county, that's right.
Extremely strong support for him.
That's what it was.
So when they went to the poll in November for voting, they wanted to vote for Bob Riley. They couldn't vote for Bob Riley in Gerald Isle, so my vote switched over to Bob. If I'd switched party in 2006, I'd have won. But I didn't because I was not going to have an opponent. This lady qualified 5 o'clock on the last day, and the Democrats really got behind her, and you know, was able to win the seat. But it was okay to stay out. Let me tell you, it's good to take a break out of the legislature because you can step back, you can understand what's going on, you can look at the process, you can see where they're falling behind and where they're not making the right progress and where they're not making the right decision. You can take a better step if you step out of the legislature. Jabbo stepped out 4 years.
That's right.
And he came back with a new perspective of what it means to be in the legislature. And I think that is an asset to me. I've watched this legislature for 8 years. They've done some good things, but there's some things they haven't done that needs to be addressed, and they're not addressing them, and especially in rural Alabama.
What is your, I've asked Jabbo this over the years. Of course, I wrote Jabbo's biography.
Yeah, I've read his book.
But I was going to ask you this. I've asked him that over the years, and what is your legislation you're most proud of? Is it something local stuff or just something?
Steve,
You've had passed a lot of bills over the years.
Yes,
you and Jabbo both have.
I've thought about that, and I guess, and this won't resonate with younger generations, but it will with you. When I went to the legislature, you had on October the 1st, you had to go to the courthouse and line up to buy a tag. The line was around the courthouse. Everybody had to buy a tag in October. I came up with the idea to buy a tag on your monthly date and put a sticker on it and let that sticker stay for 5 years. Now, let me just tell you the significance of that bill, and it don't
Saved the
resonate.
state some money, didn't it?
It's that bill since I passed it has saved me and you and the taxpayers well over $1 billion.
That much? I figured it would. Because it
See,
costs a lot to make a tag.
Tag costs $1 to make. It costs $1.50 to get it to the courthouse, and it cost almost $4. And you take that tag off your car and go home and tack it on the barn every year and go back and get a new one. The prisoners made them. We used to, this is kind of rude, but we used to laugh. You could tell the prisoners who worked in the tag pressing thing, they didn't have as many fingers because they cut some off. But that's kind of crude. But anyway, that one bill, and I don't know of another legislature can say that he's passed a bill that saved the taxpayers over $1 billion.
Well, it saved money, but Gerald, also, think of how much time you saved people, but just consumers in Alabama.
Yeah, you don't have
every
to
5
line up.
years. You got to do it every 5. That's fantastic.
Well, here's the thing, too.
That would have that's a pretty good piece of legislation.
Well, and let me tell you an interesting part of that. We're debating that bill on the floor, and we're saying, you know, and A's and B's are going to get them in Januaries, and C's and D's were down the road. And somebody goes to the microphone and says, well, I know why you want that. You won't have to get your tag till April. I said, put the D's first. So when you go, if you're a D, you got to buy your tag in January.
You go out because of that? They go ahead of the age?
Yeah.
Just because you said, well, I'm going to show you something.
Because it didn't save it.
Yeah.
It didn't make. I wasn't saving any money, but he was saying, "Oh yeah, you're."
Well, I bet this fused them, didn't it? What they say after that? So
he said, "Oh, you won't have to buy your tag till April and May." I said, "Put D's in the first month." So A's and D's come first. You wonder why it's so odd that way. That's why.
Think of not just how much money that saved, but
well, how much frustration it saved.
Really, I mean, everybody you buy a tag, it's done for. Now you get the little sticker every year.
Little sticker, and the sticker costs about half a cent, and you go and put it on that tag, and you go with it. Why we change every 5 years?
How'd you think of that? Were other states doing that?
No, we were the first state to do that. Matter of fact, the first few years, we made the tags for Tennessee as well, but then they began to put in their own process.
What year did you do that?
That was in 75. 74, I think.
So that
it wasn't my first. I put it in the first year and I passed it 6 years because it was 75.
Takes a while to do it.
But that and now you can go online and get your tag sticker and all that. And those people, you know, it's bad enough to pay taxes, but to have to stand in line for 2 hours in the hot and the mess and around the courthouse even made it worse. So that was, but it was unique, and we was one of the first. I was one of the first states to do that. Now every state does that. In that way, you get vanity tags, you get specialty tags, you get a Troy tag, you get a. Tell you a quick story about when we were doing the agriculture tag, farmer's tag.
What year was this been about?
That would have been in the 80s, 85, 86, and I'm doing that Farmers Federation tag for agriculture. I've got that bill going, and we got a sample of it, and I hold up the sample, and it's got a green tractor on it. Senator Hinton Mitchum, who you remember, said that tag won't never pass. I said, well, why? He said, that's a green tractor. I sell Fords.
I remember that.
So we had to take the tractor and make it black. But that's the funny part of that.
So you see, that was what he did. Yeah. Oh, Hinton and Lowell Bear, they were fun to work with.
They were.
Who are some of your best friends you have best memories of?
I think two of the best senators I ever worked with, and I've worked with some great ones, was probably Tommy Ed Roberts, who you don't remember from
He's got a cousin,
his nephew's running, and Hamp Myers was a great guy. I've worked with some great people.
You like Hamp a lot?
Yeah, probably the best guy I ever worked with was Jimmy Holly. You know, you can't beat Jimmy Holly. Jimmy Holly and Gerald Isle represented rural Alabama. If you were going to do anything that affected country folks, and that's who we are, then you had to deal with Jimmy Holly and Gerald Isle, and we were going to make sure, number one, we got our fair share, and number two, it helped our people and didn't hurt them. And they used to say, you know, if Gerald Isle and Jimmy Holly's against it, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, right. I served with Jimmy in the House, you know, and we sat by each other for 10 years. I just told a group a while ago, I was talking to him, I talked about Jimmy Holly's stories. He read every bill.
Yeah.
And I never have seen anybody that knew as much. And then he moved on to the Senate. We were serving the House together because we had adjoining counties. And he was my mentor, really. He'd already been there for 8 years before I got there, from 74 to 82. And then Pike and Caulfield had the same interest, basically. Yeah. Of course, we had more Troy University interest. But nevertheless, I never served. I'm glad you mentioned him because he was my favorite legislator. And I've said this repeatedly. He's the best legislator I ever saw, taking care of his district. He went up to the Senate, and every one of those senators up there now, he mentored them.
Yeah.
Barfoot, Chambliss, they all want to be near him.
Well, he and I had kind of unwritten rule. We would take a freshman, new senator, and kind of take him under rule. I took Greg Reed. I took Jim McClendon. I've taken a lot of them.
So McClendon and Reed were your protege.
And there were others. That's just two that's right off the top that I worked with. I worked with a great guy, and because he had a lot of common interests with me, is the guy from down in South Alabama from Geneva, Senator
Chastain?
Chastain.
Yeah.
Chastain had been a coach.
They sure did. Y'all had a lot in common.
And so I kind of took him under hand. And matter of fact, to tell you a quick story, he came to me when he was in the House, and he said, I need some help. I need to get a technical school started down in my county. He said, they told me you know how to do it. I said, well, I'm going to tell you one thing. You're not going to get money to build a new building. I said, you need to look at what's existing. And I said, I'm on the Armory Commission, and we're over all the armories. the armory down there is
You knew this about the Geneva Armory.
yeah. I said the Geneva Armory has some extra room in it. I said, why don't your Board of Education get with us and let's lease you part of that armory and you start your technical school. So we did that. I helped him on the Army Committee.
Did they change the name of the building or anything?
Not yet, they hadn't. But anyway, we began to put his and it began to grow so that we were able to close that armory and move it to another unit. And he got the whole armory, and now it's expanded into it should be the Dunny-Chastine Technical School. Maybe someday it'll get named that. But that's how I mentored him and helped him, and now he's got a great technical school. And let me tell you what's so ironic about that, Steve. It became an example, and I did the same thing in Clay County with the National Guard Armory. When that National Guard Armory was closing, and we've closed a lot of them, and it's not our state's fault, it's the federal government. They cut away units and we don't have them. So we closed the armory in Ashland. I worked a deal where the Board of Education could buy it. We helped them get a grant from ADECA for $1 million. We've converted it into one of the best technical schools. But I used the example I'd used with Dunny-Chastine to do the Clay County one, and we're looking at doing others. But that's one of
That is a great thing.
Yeah.
Gerald, let me ask this. What is Ashland the county seat?
Ashland's the county seat.
Which town's bigger, the Lima or Ashland?
Oh, they're about the same. Ashland has the county seat, and it's the courthouse. The courthouse is the most significant thing in Clay County because that's where Hugo Black.
That's what I'm getting. Did you ever know? You never saw him.
I never knew him, but I passed a resolution naming the courtroom in the courthouse the Hugo Black courtroom.
Good.
And when you go there today, there's a picture and a resolution designating that Hugo Black served as a when I first got elected, Hugo Black was not real popular.
No, pretty liberal.
And for Clay County, and I tried to.
He never really came back to Clay County.
No.
I
tried to preserve his old homestead, but I couldn't get. I got a lot of people to push back on it, and we couldn't get any local.
He wasn't like Alabama.
No,
he was one of the most liberal judges on the Supreme Court.
Yeah, but today people look at him as his decision.
Yeah, well, the federal courthouse in Birmingham named for him.
Yeah, significant.
Gerald, let me ask you a question. Of all the governors, tell me how you liked them, or if you don't mind asking that. What all governors have you served with? You served with Wallace, because Wallace was governor in '82. You served with Favre. Who was governor? Wallace one term in '74.
Yeah, I served with him, and then served with Favre, then served with Wallace again.
Then George McMillan was your cousin, wasn't
he? Yeah.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
And I served with Favre, and then I served with George Wallace again.
Again,
and Favre again.
Favre again.
And then I served with Siegelman, and served with after Siegelman.
Were you still running as a Democrat when Siegelman was governor?
Yeah. But Siegelman and I didn't. I'm probably the only senator in the history that when Siegelman was governor, I refused to serve on a committee. I gave up all my committees. I just
you didn't like Siegelman, or what?
I couldn't work with him. I couldn't work with him, and he understood. His philosophy and mine was quite different.
Right. We were pro-business. You and I were.
Yeah, and so I couldn't work with him, and so. I was a Democrat. I was still a Democrat too.
But you still didn't. You were pro-business.
Yeah.
During the 80s, we were either pro-business or pro-trial lawyer.
Yeah, there's always been two parties.
I know it.
That's
all we talked about.
Yeah, conservative.
Remember how?
You had
that's when they did the 83 redistricting.
Yeah, you tried to do it then. But it's hard to say each of them. Bob did one of them. Bob was different, but Bob did one of the most significant things that's ever been done in this
state. That trust fund down in Mobile.
He created the Alabama Heritage Trust Fund, which if he'd have gave that to the legislature, we'd have spent it overnight.
He sure would. I gave him a legacy for that.
I think I've written a semi-book about the 6 most influential individuals I've known in my lifetime that's changed the dynamics of Alabama.
Who you put in there?
George Wallace, Bob James. I put Hunt and Folsom because of Mercedes.
Yep.
Folsom got a lot.
I don't know how Hunt got credit, but Folsom
Hunt
did
had it. Hunt had it. Let me tell you who got Mercedes. Was the guy from Alabama Power Company, Elmer Harris.
Yeah.
Elmer Harris flew everybody in the world.
Now Billy Joe worked on that thing.
Well, but Billy Joe worked. Elmer Harris gave him the direction.
Yeah.
So you got to put Hunt and Folsom for Mercedes.
So you give Hunt part of credit for that.
Yeah, because he had the foundation there. All Folsom had to do was close the deal and us pass the bill. He had led. It was.
I didn't know it had gone that far. So folks was
It was up to the trough to drink the water. So you got Hunt and Folsom. Then my next guy is Dr. Bronner.
Yeah.
And my last guy is, of course, Richard Shelby, who nobody's ever done for this state.
You're right.
Richard. And all of them have a significant, life-changing impact on this state.
I'd say Bronner and Shelby would be higher at the top.
Well, I put Shelby first.
Yeah,
and Bronner
Shelby
second.
first. Yeah.
Bronner second.
I'm glad you've done that. You need to finish
Let me
that
tell you why Mercedes. People sometimes don't understand the dynamics of Mercedes. When we were recruiting Mercedes, it was the first time that automobile industry had ever decided to build a plant outside of Germany. They could have gone anywhere in the world. Everybody in the world was courting Mercedes. Everybody. Offering them everything in the world. They chose Alabama, and we got that plant, and that totally changed the dynamics of how outside people looked at Alabama. I'll give you an example. We were checking in a hotel. We'd been going to a meeting in California. Young lady, probably a college young lady, walked up to take my registration I gave her, and she looked down and said, "Alabama, y'all just got Mercedes." Now here's a young college girl that probably couldn't even point Alabama out on a map, but that had made that kind of significant impact, and I understood at that time. Now I voted for that package. It's about $700 million.
Yeah.
I went home.
I did too.
I went home on Saturday to the coffee shop that I always gathered, and I almost got tarred and feathered. One guy said, "They tried to kill me in the war, and you give them $700 million." But it totally changed the dynamics of Alabama's future, and it brought us under a new light, and people said, if Mercedes is going there, we need to look at them. And look what's happened since then.
You are exactly right, Gerald Dow. Well, Gerald, I hate to tell you, our time's up. We need to do another one and talk about all your contributions to Troy University on the board. But folks, our guest tonight has been Senator Gerald Dow, who served how many years in the state Senate House altogether?
Well, all the time it's been 40 years, 39 years.
39 years of legislative service. He sat out a while. He's running for his old Senate district, and the number is what?
It's Senate District 13, and I'm not going back because I love politics. I'm going back because I think I can contribute to the future of this state going forward, and I'm concerned about the future of District 13 and the future of this state. There's a lot of important things coming down the road that we don't seem to be addressing. We got some good people in the Senate, and they've done some good things, but they need some added extra leadership up there, and I'm willing to give that time.
Well, your leadership and wisdom and experience be worthwhile. Folks, I guess Gerald Dow running for election to his old Senate district, and we thank you viewers for tuning in. Hope you tune again next week for Alabama Politics. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
This has been Alabama Politics with Steve Flowers, a production of Troy University Television. Opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of Troy University, its administration, faculty, staff, or students.